Good morning, fifth grade. Today we are going to read a biography about Clara Barton. She was very influential during the Civil War. But before we get started, we are going to complete our quick write. It says, describe a time when you helped someone in need. What did the person need? How did you help the person? How did helping make you feel? Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the focus question. We want to know, how did Clara Barton affect medical treatment and care for soldiers? What are the long-term effects of her work? Our vocabulary words for today are reform. That means to make a change in like an institution or a practice in order to improve it. So when you reform something, you try to make it better. Number 2 is lobby. That's when you try to influence someone on an issue. So you try to persuade them to come over to your side. And then the last one is calling. And that is like your purpose in life. Your calling would be your purpose in life. Alright, so draw lines that match the words to the pictures, and then you can go ahead and turn the page. Your Clara Barton biography is on the back of your notes packet, so you can go ahead and tear off that page so that your screen looks like my screen. And we're going to get started with box 1 because we have a nonfiction text that is a biography. We will want to ask a how or why question about the title. And the how or why question I've come up with is, why was Clara Barton significant? We could also write, how did Clara Barton make an impact while she was alive? Press pause to write down your question and play when you're ready to read. And we are going to underline our answers to that questions to help us come up with a main idea. We're at the synopsis part. Clara Barton was born on December 25, 1821 in Oxford, Massachusetts. She became a teacher, worked in the U.S. Patent Office, and was an independent nurse during the Civil War. While visiting Europe, she worked with a relief organization known as the International Red Cross and lobbied for an American branch when she returned home. The American Red Cross was founded in 1881, and Barton served as its first president. And we would underline that last sentence because that lets us know that's one of the reasons why she's so significant. She started the American Red Cross. Let's keep going about her early life. Educator, nurse, and founder of the American Red Cross, Clara Barton was born Clarissa Harlow Barton on December 25, 1821 in Oxford, Massachusetts. Barton spent much of her life in the service of others and created an organization that still helps people in need today, the American Red Cross. As a shy child, she first found her calling when she tended to her brother David after an accident. Barton later found another outlet for her desire to be helpful as a teenager. She became a teacher at age 15 and later opened a free public school in New Jersey. She moved to Washington, D.C. to work in the U.S. Patent Office as a clerk in the mid-1850s. And we'll stop right there. This last sentence of that first paragraph we would want to underline because it basically sums up how the impact that she made during her life. And so in box 1 for our main idea, we would write, Clara Barton founded the American Red Cross and saved thousands of lives while living and after she died. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for number 2. It says, how did Clara discover that she enjoyed helping others? And if we go into the second paragraph, it tells us that she first found her calling when she tended to her brother David after an accident. And so in box 2A, we would write, Clara helped her brother recover from an accident, and she discovered that she liked helping people. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for 2B. It says, what early accomplishments did Clara Barton experience? And if we go back in that second paragraph, it tells us that at the age of 15, she opened a free public school and became a teacher, which is a pretty big deal. Not many of us opened our own school when we were 15 and taught other children. So that's a pretty big deal. So in box 2B, we would write, at the age of 15, Clara Barton became a school teacher and opened a free public school in New Jersey. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready to keep reading. We are going to talk about the section Angel of the Battlefield in our parallel teaching today, so we're going to skip that for now, and we are going to jump to the next page that talks about the American Red Cross. I'm at While Visiting Europe. While visiting Europe, Barton worked with a relief organization known as the International Red Cross during the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 through 71. Sometime after returning home to the United States, she began to lobby for an American branch of this international organization. The American Red Cross Society was founded in 1881, and Barton served as its first president. As its leader, Clara Barton oversaw assistance and relief work for the victims of such disasters as the 1889 Johnson flood and the 1900 Galveston flood. We'll stop right there. Box 3 asks us, how did the American Red Cross help people? And if we look in that last sentence, we know that it helped victims of disasters like floods. So if you lived in a city that was flooded and your home was destroyed, the American Red Cross workers would come and they would set up tents that had food and water, shelter, clothes to give to people who had lost everything that they had. And so in box 3A, we would write down that the American Red Cross helped victims of natural disasters like floods. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for 3B. The Red Cross also helps like tornado victims or hurricane victims. Those are other examples of natural disasters. And the Red Cross would go to those areas and help the people there. 3B says, what do Clara Barton's actions reveal about her as a person? And so if Clara Barton is taking care of wounded soldiers, and if she's starting this organization that's going to help people in need and save lives, we would say that she's really compassionate towards suffering people, and that she's kind and selfless. And so in 3B, we would write down, Clara Barton has compassion on suffering people. She was kind and selfless. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for box 4. In box 4, we're about to watch a video of a biography video. And you want to focus on how is Clara Barton being described in the video, and is the way she is described, does that support what the text we just read supports? Or, does it paint her in a totally different light? Let's see. Oh, I think that's out of my screencast. If I do, it'll be out of my screencast if I do full. Oops, sorry.
Teacher, humanitarian, and the founder of the American Red Cross, Clara Barton is one of the most honored women in American history. She was born on Christmas Day, 1821, in Oxford, Massachusetts.
At a very young age, she had to nurse her older brother who was quite sick, and very likely that led to her embracing the nursing skills and learning the skills that she used later on in the Civil War.
Clara Barton started off as a teacher and opened the nation's first free public school in 1854, before moving to Washington, D.C. to work for the U.S. Patent Office a year later.
Barton was, if not the first, one of the first women to work for the U.S. government in any capacity.
During the Civil War, Barton started aiding the wounded Union soldiers flooding into the Capitol. Soon she changed her focus to the front lines.
She saw that there was a need at the front for supplies, and she spent her own funds to bring them.
Barton earned the nickname Angel of the Battlefield when she showed up after midnight at the Battle of Cedar Mountain with a wagon load of supplies for the surgeons, and they had long since run out of things earlier in the day. She did that time and time again at small battles and very big battles, including the very bloody Battle of Antietam.
There's a story that at Antietam, she was so close to the battlefield that a bullet actually pierced through the sleeve of her dress.
After the Civil War, Barton traveled to Europe on her doctor's orders to rest. This didn't last long. While there, she met members of the International Red Cross and joined their volunteers on the battlefield of the Franco-Prussian War.
Barton returned to the United States shortly thereafter, and she brought this idea home with her. She felt that America needed a similar organization. So she began the organization in 1881.
After founding the American Red Cross and becoming its head, Barton successfully lobbied to have the United States sign the Geneva Convention, the governing document behind all Red Cross societies. This basically made the American Red Cross legit.
In 1884, Barton saw to it that the American Amendment was added to the Geneva Convention. That amendment widened the work of Red Cross societies around the world to include not only the battlefield disaster work, but disaster relief in general.
Devoting her life to her work helping others, Clara Barton never married. At age 83, Barton retired from running the American Red Cross.
Clara Barton continued to pursue her humanitarian interests. She worked for women's suffrage, she worked with religious minorities, and she worked in prison reform.
Clara Barton built the American Red Cross from the ground up. She made that organization into what it is today. About 30,000 paid employees, over 500,000 volunteers, 500 chapters touching each and every community in this country. So that when we do something like respond to a large disaster, we embody that great humanitarian spirit that she had. That's her legacy.
All right, so you would want to go think back to what you learned in that video. Did they talk about Clara Barton and her brother's accident? Don't remember that. Did they talk about her becoming a teacher? Yes, so you can put a check mark by that one because they actually talked about her starting her own school. Did they talk about her starting the American Red Cross? Yes. And did they tell us that she was a kind and compassionate person? Yes. So there was a lot of evidence in the video that supported what we already knew about Clara Barton. And so in 4A, we could write the author of the video depicted Clara Barton as a compassionate and caring person. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for 4B. How does the information in the video support or refute what you already know about Clara Barton? And we would say many of the details in the video were the same as the details in the text. So the video supported the information in the text. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the paragraph. How did Clara Barton affect medical treatment and care for soldiers? Silently use your notes to write down your answer.